Welcome to Talking Halos. Derek Ciapala with my co-hosts, my partners in crime, Jared Timms and Nate Green. We have no excuses. We just didn't record last month. We figured why bother. But anyways, we're back with all kinds of news going on, from sad to good to bad to worse. It's our first post-season edition of Talking Halos. Jared, how you doing? Did I lose him?
That's a good start.
It's a horrible
No,
start.
he's just on mute. Just like the Angels season.
Oh my gosh. All right, we'll come back to him. Nate, first thoughts.
Yeah, it's over. Yeah, what a terrible, terrible season, but we can at least put it in the rear view and you know, this is the best time of year because there's hope. Somewhat hopefully everyone has hope that the Angels will make the right moves, just like Kansas City did this last offseason and find their way into the postseason.
Now, hope meaning, okay, even the 120 plus loss White Sox have hope, right?
Yeah, I mean everyone has hope that goes into the offseason. They're like, hey, we might be able to make the right moves like Kansas City did and find their way into the postseason.
It didn't take long. It took the Tigers like once the Tigers committed to a rebuild, it was 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah,
Astros was what, 4 years,
4 or 5. Yeah.
4 or 5. But to Jared's point from previous shows, there's a core at least here, so maybe it won't be 4 or 5 years. So it takes me, Jared. Jared, your first thoughts is this horrifyingly awful season is now over.
Yeah, first and foremost, can you hear me? Am I
Yeah,
good now?
we're
Yeah,
good.
we good. We good.
Apple. I use Apple, doesn't ever work for me. AirPods. What was the question again? Great start to the podcast for me.
Just
Yep.
like the Angels season.
Yeah, this is very much so like the Angels season here. Repeat the question here for me.
Okay. What are your
Yeah.
first thoughts on now this 99 loss season's over?
Now that it's over, it's you get back into the war room, and you start planning out an attack for 2025 and a way to get some pieces to trade them away at the trade deadline next year for 2026. I mean that's going to be my thought. That's going to be my thought all off season. But you're going to need to make a couple big splashes. I'll say that because you definitely are building for 2026, right? I mean, I don't think anybody's going to expect the Angels to make the playoffs in 2025, and which might be a good thing at the end of the day for the Angels. I'm it's going to continue to be cautiously optimistic. I mean, if the Angels can stay healthy and put together, I mean, look at the Tigers, right? I mean, Tigers were a sub 500 team. Nobody was counting them, and all of a sudden they rattle off, one of the best the August and September's in probably baseball history, and all of a sudden now they're in the playoffs. So it takes 2 good months, really. That's all you really gotta that's all you really gotta do. And I mean, we saw it from the Royals too. They started off extremely hot. So I mean, is there hope? Yes. I don't think anybody had those two teams in the playoffs, and here we are. It's not quite October 1st yet, but here we are technically pretty close to October, and the Royals and the Tigers are in the postseason. I feel like a lot of people were counting out the Padres as well. I know they made some moves early and things like that, but you look at if you go back to spring with the Padres, nobody was looking at the Padres at being one of the best teams in baseball and maybe having them in the World Series, and all of a sudden now, they're probably one of the favorites in the NL. So yeah, I mean, hope is a good word for sure. It's always a fun time of the year, I think for Angels and Angels fans. And we're going to talk a lot about in the coming podcast what the Angels should do, what they shouldn't do. I know we're all going to give our opinions on that, and I know Perry Manason's not going to listen to this podcast, but he'll probably do the exact opposite of what we want. It's true.
Wow.
It's true.
Wow. And you're a Perry defender.
I wouldn't call myself a Perry defender. I
Yeah,
call myself a
he's
GM defender
yeah.
for the Angels. I'll more than likely side on the GM side when it comes down to it until something out of the ordinary happens to Angels ownership. But yeah, I mean, you can only do so much. But again, for the team that was put on the field this year and the teams that were put on the field Last year and the year before, I mean, Perry Minasian is the GM. He's the guy that has his name on this team. So yes, it's his fault for sure. 100%. 99 losses. You got to put a better team on the field. I went to the game on Friday, and that's one of the worst lineups that I've seen put out in quite some time. In quite some time. So it's definitely rough to see. Did I think we hit rock bottom years ago? I feel like we've had this how many years have we had this podcast now? 5 years.
It's
5 years now, and every single time we have a podcast like this, it's like, wow, this is rock bottom. Can I flip the question and say, are we finally at rock bottom? Does it get better from here? I don't know.
I do have a question. Who is having
110
the Angels in
losses?
the playoffs this year, though?
Nobody.
Okay, because you're making it sound like next year they're randomly not going to be a
Well,
playoff team when they weren't even supposed to be a playoff team this year. So
if
I
we
just
re-
want to make sure.
if we rewind to when the season started, on paper, I'm pretty sure at least I said I thought they were a better team on paper than they were
I,
last year.
Everybody had them as a better team. I
On
think they
paper.
at least 70 wins, right? Like
Well, last
70
year they won
wins.
72. I thought they could at least go 80, 85 wins. Of course, that needed people to be healthy. You needed so on and so forth. But they wound up being much worse than I ever could have imagined them being this year.
Yeah, you never hope for a season like that, but yeah, like I said, when it comes down to it, nobody had the Tigers in the playoffs. Nobody had the Royals in the playoffs. Very few people had the Royals in the playoffs. I had the Royals winning the Central. I think Taylor Blake Ward actually had the Tigers winning the Central. So there's that, which is kind of nice. But yeah, that's the cool thing about baseball. You never know what's going to happen. Yeah, you can play the odds and say, yeah, there's a 20% chance the Angels make the playoffs next year, 10% chance or a 0% chance, whatever you want to say. Same thing with the White Sox. But right now there's a chance, so you never know what's going to happen this offseason. You expect them to go out and spend money, right?
No, I don't. I don't. I don't want them to. Not this year. I want them to break it down.
Yeah.
That's what I want them to do. That's what they should have done 5 years ago. And maybe if they had done that, they could still have a 30-plus-year-old Mike Trout with a young team around him. And now they don't.
They are torn down right now.
Well, you know what I'm talking about.
They're
Torn down. I'm talking about talent-wise build back up.
They're going to have a 30. They're
You
going to have a
mentioned
30-plus-year-old team
you
they're going to have
mentioned
a 30-plus-year-old Mike Trout with a core young group guys around.
I'm talking about guys more than just a core. These guys are a core. But can you tell me any one of them are stars that you would think can be, not tier one stars, or tier two stars in this league? Maybe Logan
They were all
O'Hoppe.
top 100. They were all top 100
Yeah, no,
prospects.
could be.
They're all top 100 prospects. I think it's fair to say. So there's at least some sort of thought that you can produce these guys into some type of star,
The
right?
track record isn't that though, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
What I'm talking about is I wanted a complete and total breakdown of the entire farm system years ago. How we got there dependent, but we can go back through all of our old podcasts, and on one shape or form, we've all talked about the need to improve development at the minor league level. And here we have an opportunity this year going in the offseason. We know next year's draft, they have a good shot at the number one pick. Doesn't mean they'll get it. They're the fourth worst record in baseball this year.
Yeah, but third based on the draft.
White Sox can't be in the top 10, so they'll have a top 5 pick, I think is where they're at.
Okay.
Top
So
six.
You can't guarantee that.
But there's something to build around. There's something to build around. So if we're looking at positive things and you're looking at maybe what to look forward to, there are things to build around and hope for. The question is will the front office pull the trigger and finally go do it? And I personally, that what you talked about before the show started, Jared, about the comments concerning Anthony Rendon, that's not a very Perry-like thing. You mind going over for the listeners what you're talking about?
Yeah, I don't have the exact quote on me, but I think it came from MLB. Rhett Bollinger said, or Perry said that Anthony Rendon, when he's been on the field, hasn't produced very well. So he's going to have to, and I'll sum this up. He's got to earn his third base spot. It's not just going to be handed to him anymore. Which is interesting. I mean, like you said, that's not something that Perry or anybody would really ever say. So, yeah, I'm very intrigued as to what this means. I don't think this means like, hey, they're going to go out and get a third baseman or anything like that. Do I think Eric Wagaman is the guy? No, probably not. But I mean, I do think you bring in some type of competition, just like in center field too, right? I mean, at some point, I mean, we all love Mike Trout, but at some point, and I know it was already said that Trout isn't going to be, is open to leaving center field and not playing there full time anymore.
Mhm.
But at some point you need to find somebody who is competent enough to play center field, and you're not going to find Mike Trout at the end of the day, right? Just like you're not finding Shohei Ohtani. You're not finding Anthony Rendon in his prime more than likely in the free agent market. I mean, Anthony Rendon in his prime was, Nate and I were just talking about this, a top 5, top 10 player in baseball for 5, 6, 7 years in a row. Like, he was a very good player. So you're not going to find that guy, but you need to find somebody who is competent enough to be Zach Neto at shortstop. You need to find somebody that can be a 2, 3, maybe 4 win player at those positions at some point. Maybe not third base, but definitely up the middle. You're going to have to find some big pieces, and that's what the Angels are building around right now.
Nate.
You guys said that this doesn't sound like Perry. I think this does sound like Perry. And you guys have already said I'm not a big Perry guy, but like, he has shown willingness to move off of stars when they are not playing well. Right?
Not his stars though. He did it with Albert Pujols. He did it with Justin Upton. He hasn't done it with his stars though.
Is Anthony Rendon his star?
2020, I guess he's not really.
No. So like this is literally, it screams what Perry likes to do is basically get rid of anyone from the old regime that is not playing well and move off of them. Like, he's done it with Albert Pujols, he's done it with Justin Upton, like you guys have mentioned, and now it's Anthony Rendon's turn. So this really does sound a lot like what Perry
But he never talked about that stuff before, Nate. I mean, he would just go pull a trigger and the guy would be gone.
I mean, you heard him tell Albert Pujols, like, your role needs to diminish on this team. Like, you can't be an everyday guy.
That was a behind the scenes. He's in public talking about that now. He didn't go before the media and say, "Hey, Albert, you have to do this." He handled Albert totally different.
He told Justin
the end game
he couldn't play the outfield anymore. He had to move to first base. Like, there was like, "Hey, you've been so bad, you can't play the outfield anymore." So like, he has said some stuff like this out loud when it comes to big stars like this not producing.
I mean, it's the same thing as the Mike Trout thing that came out a couple days, or I guess a week ago now, about Artie Moreno. Is it time for Artie to pull the trigger? And will ownership make a change? Is basically what Mike Trout was saying. I don't want to misquote him or anything like that, but to sum it up, that's basically what he said. Is Artie gonna make a change? Is the front office gonna make a change? So definitely not Mike Trout like either. But I mean, if anything, you can tell that this is it's starting to get on some people's nerves, and I think that's what it feels like.
Well, but by the way, a lot of people took that Mike Trout quote and chopped it up and made it look worse than it actually was. He wasn't being this degenerate punk person. He was simply saying, "Listen, things need to happen here." That's a Captain Obvious statement, actually.
And it probably stems from what happened this last offseason, where there was a lot of big name free agents still on the board. About 2 weeks before the we haven't spent that much money. We still have, probably 20, 30 million to spend. Like, let's go get a Blake Snell. Let's go get a JD Martinez. Let's go get Mike Montgomery, whoever it was. And like, we didn't end up with any of them. Some of them had good years, some of them didn't. But I think that's where it really stems from too, is like, we got to do something. We can't keep the same team out there.
And there are some interesting guys out there this offseason. Don't know if they'll come here, but there are some interesting guys out there. So, real quick,
2026.
For 2026, we'll be back with a word from our sponsors. All right, other baseball news today. By the way, just getting to this, you guys notice all of a sudden in the last couple of days, all these famous people passing away? McGonagall, gone. Chris Robertson passes away. Dikembe Mutombo passed away. And then today, Pete Rose passed away. You guys notice this?
Not really.
Can we win her a rock?
I mean, I've seen that people have passed away, but
Like a lot of people just gone. Not just just a statement. Anyways, P Rose, all-time hits leader. How you guys feeling? The banned from baseball all-time hits leader gone. We're baseball fans. How you feeling?
now you can officially put him in the Hall of Fame. I think that was the greatest punishment for him is like, yes, you were the best player in your era, you were the best player on your team. Um, whether you gambled on your own team, whatever, like we can get into that later, but like I think the biggest punishment for him is like him getting into the Hall of Fame and him not knowing. So I think I wouldn't be shocked if he gets into the Hall of Fame here soon, especially with all the way that Major League Baseball has gone with their pushing gambling more. Obviously, not with their players, but they are pushing gambling more with the fans and other people. So I wouldn't be shocked if he gets into the Hall of Fame here in the next couple of years.
Jared?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he kind of formed the game that we played as kids. Like it was play like Pete Rose. I don't know how many times I heard that. Charlie Hustle. That was kind of the saying. Play hard. And I think a lot of you see a lot of you don't see that a lot anymore, but you saw that a lot. With us growing up. So it's definitely sucks. It's one of those things where you never want anybody to die, pass away. But if it means that he gets to be in the Hall of Fame and you get arguably the best pure hitter of all time in the Hall of Fame, then I mean it's both a bad day and a good day for baseball. As weird as that sounds, I don't want that to be sounding weird or misquoted, but I want to see him in the Hall of Fame. Like that you should have the best hitter of all time in the Hall of Fame.
Well, you just answered my question. My question was going to be, do you think he should be in the Hall of Fame? You think so. Nate, does he should be in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Yeah, at this point.
The only thing that I would change my answer on is if I know for sure, like if you could prove to me for sure that he bet on his own team to lose and he made sure his team lost. Like that would be the one thing where I'd be like, no, sorry.
Which
And I know
wasn't in
people
his
will be,
nature at all.
but like that would be the only way that I would say like you can't go to the Hall of Fame if that was the way that I know people will say yes he gambled on the game, which we know that yes he gambled on. We don't even know for sure if he gambled on his own team. I know that that report came out a couple years ago, but like if he's betting on his own team to lose and he's purposely making sure they lose, then absolutely not. But if if he didn't bet on his own team to lose, like yeah, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, best hitter of all time, best I guess best contact hitter of all time, most hits of all time, all those things. Like
He was the. I mean, I hate being older than you guys because I can actually tell you that I watched him play. I mean, it kind of makes me feel sad. Like I'm that much older than you, but even at his later age, he was still the same guy in terms of his hustle and so what he put into the game. Um, so yeah, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And I don't understand the arguments really anymore that he should be in the Hall of Fame. We have dudes in the Hall of Fame right now who we know use roids. We know cheated with spitballs and screw. All the doctored substances. It was okay when it was making baseball money. We unknown numbers of people in the Hall of Fame right now who cheated. You can go over 4,000 hits. No one, I don't think anybody's ever gonna catch him.
I don't want to sound like the old, what the kids call it this day, the boomer or anything like that. But like for me, watching MLB Network and they're talking about betting, and everything like that on MLB Network and knowing the players obviously can't bet, but MLB is making money off of it right now. Kind of gets me. Like I don't like, and same thing you see Ken Rosenthal tweeting about betting, his picks for the day and things like that. It's like, all right,
And
like
he's a reporter, by the way.
exactly,
Like,
exactly. Like for me, like I don't want to sound like the boomer. I know I'm going to come off sound like the boomer, and YouTube's going to hate me for it. But like, what are we doing here, right? Like, I get it's making baseball money and everything like that, but it's tough to see that and not have Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame or
I don't think
hopefully
you come across a boomer at all, Jared. I think to me, it's a very obvious conflict of interest that
do we
no
sound
one
like
wants to, and for football, for baseball, for all of them.
yeah.
we're saying, hey, go ahead. We want you to go to FanDuel, Prize Picks, or wherever, and do this, and this, and we're going to give you the over under. We're going to give you this, and this, this parlay that, and yet we're going to ban people who do it. They're suspending players now for doing it.
Yep.
Are they betting on their own team? Are they bet? Where's the line? But yet they're going to keep a guy out who was doing this 20 years ago because what? Because it was banned then? Well, you're unbanning it now. You're saying it's okay now.
Calvin Ridley's still allowed to play football, right? Like, if we were playing the same game with Pete Rose, where Pete Rose is not allowed the Hall of Fame, he can't do things. And like Calvin Ridley should not be allowed to play football. All the guys that have bet on football should not be allowed to play their sport ever again. But we're allowing them to because we're making money on the gambling.
But in this, the argument's going to be, well, that was the rule then. This is the rule now, and I get that. But since when do all the morals around it change? It changed when you decide you want to make money off of it.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're going to keep punishing this guy? Well, he lied about it for years. Well, wouldn't you, if you played the way he played, if you did live like the way he lived life, trying to win throughout his entire life, do you think he'd be so quick to say, "Oh yeah, I did it"? And then he confessed like in 2004, 2005 in his book. It's been almost 20 years. Like, come on, give it a rest.
Yeah.
Give it a rest. Anyways, that's our show today, guys and gals. By the way, just for some baseball closers, Mets and Braves split doubleheader today. That is the last two in. Congrats to all those teams, and I think we should congratulate Shohei Ohtani, 54 at 58. That's no matter what team you're on, that's an accomplishment, and that's all I'm going to say about it. Any final thoughts, guys? That's it.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers. Who's your pick? Jared, call it. Who's taking this thing?
Yankees.
Yankees. Who's your actual pick, Nate?
My actual pick, Phillies.
Stole my pick. I was going Phillies as well. And I guess I'll stick by it. I was going Phillies as well. Although
Yankees, Padres. Yankees in 5.
that would be an interesting series with Juan Soto. That'll be an interesting series.
Fun.
All right, guys and gals. We'll be back. We'll start talking the offseason. Have a great one.